Hey guys, it's Hannah and I'm here today with a review video of A Court of Thorns and Roses. Alright guys, so I'm here to do a review video of Court of Thorns and Roses. This is by Sarah J. Maas and it is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. So I'm going to do a non-spoilery little section and then I'm going to go into my spoilery review. So if you haven't read it, stick around for the synopsis and my rating and then go ahead and click on out if you don't want to be spoiled for the book. So I rated this a 4.75 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this, but at the end there was just a little bit that like knocked it down from 5 out of 5 stars for me, but I still rated it 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads because Goodreads doesn't get more in depth than whole stars, but I did rate it 4.75 out of 5 stars. So, Court of Thorns and Roses, if you guys already know, is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. It stars Feyre, who is our main character. She is the youngest in her family and she is plagued with the responsibility of keeping her family alive, especially after they have lost their fortune. So she faces brutal winter conditions and has to go out and hunt to make sure that her family doesn't starve. So she goes out and she goes out in the cold weather and dangerous lands because she is getting closer and closer to the wall. The wall is what separates the Fae world and the human world, and according to Fae legends is that Fae hunt and kill humans for sport. So she's already in the cold and bitter conditions, and then she's also faced with that dose of dangerousness as well. So she has been out hunting for a little bit and she feels like she isn't going to be able to feed her family and she doesn't want to come back and disappoint her family not being able to bring back any food. And then she feels her luck changing when a deer strides into her vision. So she is crouched behind in a hidden area and she is about to aim her bow when she sees two eyes staring back at her in the dark. And she's aiming her bow at the deer and this wolf comes slowly stalking out to capture the deer for his own. She realizes that the wolf coming out is a dangerous predator, but he's also bigger than normal, and there's a little bit special about this wolf, which scares her because she thinks this may be Fae. But then she doesn't have too much compassion for a Fae being because of how cruel they have been to the human race. So she watches this wolf creep up to the deer and then he lunges for it and she shoots the wolf after he has already captured the deer. So with this, she kills the wolf and takes the deer back to her family so they can feed, and then she also skins the wolf and takes his pelt to be sold for money. As she brings this back to her family, they're overjoyed, but they're also very weary because of how large this wolf is, and they kind of can tell that there's something up, but they also realize that this is a lot of money, so they don't question it too much. Turns out that the wolf is actually Fae, and in Fae rules, you take a life for a life, and one Fae comes to collect Feyre. So, like I said, I did really enjoy this. I flew through this, I think, within 4 days, and I'm really excited to get to the second book. If you guys have read this, please leave a comment down below and let me know what you guys thought of it. But I am going to get into my spoilery section. So if you haven't read this book and you don't want to be spoiled, please click on out, and then once you've read it, come back and come talk about the book with me. But we are going to go ahead and get into the spoilery section, so yeah, let's get into it. Alright, so after Tamlin comes and collects Feyre, after everything, after she kills him, or his friend, she is pissed. She is one pissed human and does not want to be a part of this Fae world, but she is just trying to do the noble thing and save her family in any way that she can. But she also thinks that her family is going to fall apart, which, let's be real, they totally would fall apart without her. So I think it's really noble that Tamlin, like, takes care of her family for him, like, beyond all measures, like, far better than she could have done. So I really like that they show his character through that. I really enjoyed Tamlin as a character. I like that he does have the trope of like the brooding boy, but he also, like, it shows his past, and I really enjoyed his character and I really enjoyed Feyre's character as well. I just think that they both were done very well. Sarah J. Maas always nails her characters. She gives such depth, and I love all of her books so far that I have read. They all read like contemporary, but like you'll find yourself in some chapters and you're like, wow, this is really high fantasy, or this is like so far from where we started. And I love the evolutions that she takes on her books. And even in one book, you start off with a girl trying to provide for her family and just trying to survive, when at the end of the book it's something completely different. You're in a completely different world, and the story is really geared towards something bigger than that. So I love how well she transforms her books. I'm getting a little sidetracked here. Let's go back to the characters. So Lucian, first of all, Lucian, the name, I kept thinking of Harry Potter because Lucian, so that was kind of a struggle for me with the names, like kept getting me distracted. But I really did enjoy his character. I didn't really think that his hatred of humans, like, it didn't feel genuine to me. Like, I liked that he was attempting at being a little more standoffish, but he was always on her side, and it always felt like he was on her side. Like, he warmed up to her real quick. If he really hated humans and hated that she killed his friend, I don't think they would have warmed up that fast. So he never really felt genuine in his hatred towards her, but we did still have that storyline in there that he had to like warm up to her. I really liked Alice in the book having like the servant-ish befriending her. I feel like that's always a trope when it comes to like things in royalty. And I always enjoyed that aspect. I like that the princess-to-be-ish is always like first starts off being friends with the help. And I like that there's like that humbleness to her. Let's get into the main plot stories. So I think where this really took a turn for me is the Naga fight, and they constantly refer to this back, how this is a turning point she feels. She constantly references this back, so I feel like this is such a big moment in the book, that he comes and saves her from the Naga fight, and that Lucian doesn't, that he says that he's going to and he pauses and doesn't. That's where we kind of see like this is where we kind of see the hatred he has for humans, but again, to me, it didn't really feel genuine. Did you guys kind of get that when you read it? Or what did you guys think of his angst towards Feyre? Another big point for me that I really enjoyed was the fairy dying. This is where you see Feyre really put herself into their world. She doesn't really see them as these scary, terrifying creatures. She's really comforting to the dying fairy on the table, and she really inserts herself without thinking. So I really think that this is a turning point in Tamlin's eyes, because she doesn't like second guess helping the fairy and wanting to save him. Same with when Tamlin hurts his hand, is that she just jumps in to save people because that's what she does. As her character, she wants to care for people. So I think that us seeing this, like her being thrust into positions where she has to care for fairies instead of fear them, really is a turning point in Tamlin's eyes, and also shows a little more of her character too, and she's not so guarded. The Fire Knight is another big turning point for me, because you see how prestigious Tamlin's position is in the Fae world and the Spring Court, and you kind of already realize this too beforehand with all of his servants, but this is really like he is super important to his people, that he does this for them, and how much he is willing to risk himself to do it. It also shows his interest in Feyre before anything really happens with them, is that Lucian says, you need to stay home because he's going to smell you and he's going to come after you, and he can't be with you. You're not going to enjoy it. It's going to be a dangerous situation. And I love that that like clicks in her mind, that she's like, is he really interested in me like that? Like that's so baffling to her that he would find her interesting. And so that like plants a seed that like they could maybe have something there. And then when he corners her outside in the middle of the night and he bites her, like this sparks in her and realizes how much she has really thought about it too, of them being together and how intense their feelings are for each other. Another turning point that I want to talk about is the painting room. This is so huge, so I really loved that when she first came and she didn't want to tell him their interests, and then she has that pivotal moment in the rose garden and she talks to him and says, I want paints, like if I am gonna be stuck here, like I want to enjoy my life here. And so she finally like starts to let down those guards too. So I love that he sets up this entire gallery and cleans it up for her, and it really shows him taking strides to not have her as a slave. It's more have her as a partner. So before we know anything, you've always had that taste of she is there for a reason, and you always feel the Lucien pressing Tamlin together and Tamlin struggling, and I love that struggling, like, God, I feel like an idiot doing this, but I have to do this, and like, he's irritated at himself because he knows how stupid he sounds. So I really enjoyed that like almost dark humor with this as well. But I really loved that he put himself out there and she put herself out there to receive something like this, and she really blossoms and is able to express all of the trauma that she has gone through in her life, and she expresses it through her painting, and they kind of were able to bond over him looking at her paintings. And I really enjoyed that aspect, that it's not like, well, I'm gonna take you and save you away from this terrible thing and we're just gonna forget about all of the bad things that happened to you. Like, it really shows her struggling and her like getting past this. Also, when this is skipping way down the line, when she goes back home, it shows the revelations and the steps that she took, especially with Nesta. Their relationship grows, and that she remembers, and that she really connects back with her family, and after she's dealt with all that trauma on her own, that she's able to forgive them and able to deal and be close with her family again. And I love that they show that, but it's not like a super mental illness issue that we have to focus on. But I love that they had that running theme in there, that it's not just brushed under the rug. So this is really great in this book. Another big pivoting moment for me was the summer Celeste and Celeste. How do you guys say that, by the way? It's a little sidetrack. And I feel like all of my side tangents that I do is always about how to say stuff. And I'll get to one more too, because I apparently have issues with how I say things. But the Spring Festival, this is a really big pivotal moment in the book, because it really shows her changing into a dress first. Like, this is around the same time that she first doesn't insist on wearing pants that she can escape from. She feels like she looks like a woman now that she's got meat on her bones and she's taken care of a little bit. So she puts on a dress, and that's a big pivoting moment there. And that she is, I love that she is defiant to Lucien in this too, with the fairy wine. But this is where she really feels comfortable enough to let down her guards and let her inhibitions go when she drinks, that she can just be happy and be in the moment instead of constantly like, I need to watch out for my life. Like, she's finally starting to let go and accept things, and especially the moments between her and Tamlin and connecting and dancing, and then they finally have like the lover's kiss, not just the lust bite in the hallway. So I really love this taking place and it being like a slow thing instead of like a jumping into it thing. So obviously this was a big pivotal moment in the book as well, because they actually are start to act coupling. With Tamlin sending her home, this, after Rhysand comes, side tangent, I have been saying, like, I've seen the name and stuff on Bookish Things, and I have been saying the name in my head wrong for so long, and I can't get out Rhysand. Can't do it. It's stuck in my head forever. And great thing about Sarah J Maas's books is that she puts like pronunciation. Let me just grab the page here. She puts a pronunciation guide. All authors should be doing this, because this is amazing. I still can't say it though, so I'm still gonna say it Rhysand, so I apologize if that bugs the crap out of you, because it bothers me when people say like characters' names differently than I do. But regardless, I can't. I like tried for 2 chapters to say Rhysand in my head and I couldn't do it, so I went back to Rhysand. Anyways, side tangent over. Once Rhysand comes and she, like, Tamlin has to beg to not say anything, she gets sent away and gets sent to go deal with her family, and she has this growing on guilt about something's wrong, I need to go back. So she finally goes back after she misses so many chances of saying I love you to him. Like, why, what issues did we not touch on that she like couldn't say I love you, like after 3 times of hearing him say it? But whatever. More to come, that might be in that book. But after she like finally works up the courage to come back, they've been obviously taken, and so she goes into these trials. Now, the trials are obviously a big turning point, but at this point, this is where it really feels like a completely different book, and this is what I was talking about the book really evolving from a girl trying to feed her family to these trials that she has to go through that feels very like Divergent Hunger Games-ish, with the living conditions and things like that. But I really did enjoy this part too. I know in Throne of Glass series that the first book really changes and really evolves from the first book to the book that we're on now. So I really love how she does this, and I think she is an amazing author that she can easily do this so smoothly without being like, what am I reading? But the trials start, the first one after she breaks her nose, and Lucian comes and fixes it, and then he gets punished for it. And then she has the worm maze. That's the first trial, and then I was like so proud of her for getting this like figured out and defeating this and like defeating her. This is where we really see a strong Rysand presence and him trying to help Tamlin, but also provoking him a lot. But in the end, it all works out, you know. But he like scars her body with that tattoo. And I know a lot of people like his character, and I understand that he had good motivations behind it, but I still really disliked him. He drove me nuts. I get that he's not an awful character and he's got like a dark past, and maybe I will feel more inclined to like him in this book because I have a feeling that even just based off the cover that book is going to be a lot more about her spending time in the shadow or dark court. Shadow Courts, Night Court, whatever it is. But I really disliked him. He like did not treat her respectful, and I get that it was all for a reason, but that's still such a bad taste in the mouth that I can't get past that. So we'll see how I feel about him after the second book. I might do a review on it. But so we have that first trial, and then the second trial was the reading challenge, which was so heartbreaking because she wants to read so bad and she can't, and that is so like crushing. Like, it was such an easy riddle to figure out, like it was an easy test, but it was like a high pressure one, so that's why it was a second trial. But I just hate that she was so helpless. And then the third trial was where it really got real, where she had to kill 2 fairies. I really thought this was a trap. I thought that if she killed the first one, that she was like the queen of awfulness. I can't remember her name. Amarantha? I think that's how you say it. I really thought that Amarantha was going to kill her. Be like, see, she doesn't love fairies, she just killed one, just like she killed the other one, like Andress before. And so I really thought, I was like, don't do it. And like, when I was reading this, and she like kills him, and I was really expecting the backlash, and then she moves on to the second one. I was not expecting Tamlin to be entered third. Were you guys? Was that like a surprise to anybody else? And then was I the only one who figured out the riddle like right away? Like, as soon as we read the riddle, I was like, it's love. Like, everything that surrounds her and her hatred has always been about love, and everything that she's been doing, so obviously has to be about love, and like the conditions were about love. I didn't have any clue about the steel heart though. I mean, that was a pretty cool add-in, but I knew the riddle right away, and I was like, girl, just think about it. It's not that hard. But I did not call that Tamlin was going to be underneath it, and that she was like, if I just listen about it, I will figure it out about the steel heart. I don't think that I would have remembered all of that stuff. And so she obviously kills him and breaks or shatters the steel heart. Does he get a steel heart from watching his father and his brothers like be awful people to the humans? Or was that like part of the curse? Or how does he have a steel heart? That was like some of the questions that was running through my mind when I was reading this. But so she breaks the steel heart and breaks him from that, and bitchy Queen gets pissed and starts flinging around like a rag doll. And obviously Tamlin doesn't have enough of his powers back to heal properly. He's like watching her on the floor helpless while she's being flung around like rag doll, being broken bones. And I find that it's very interesting that Rysand stands up, and he says it's because that he wants to be a part of history and he wants to be the one to stand up for it even if he couldn't do anything. I don't think this is true. I think that there are like feelings growing there, and I'm not like that. I don't like that. I am very Team Tamlin so far because Rysand drives me nuts. But I found this being a very interesting twist, especially at the end, so I'm hoping that's a little more explained in this one. But the tattoos really come into handy because I thought that this might be why after she like snaps her neck, she is in Rysand's body, because the tattoo like connects them, and like the eye and stuff, like he could feel her, so I'm guessing that like connects them spiritually. So she's like watching Tamlin kill Queen Bitchy, and then comes over and like is crying at her dead body, and then all of these, this is where my rating dropped, because I get that she's dead. I'm okay with that, that she has now died and they're crying, but they come over and they do this little light magic thing with all the High Lords, and then they turn her into an immortal and she gets pushed back into her body. This is where I think we could have had a really cool storyline. Or, like, it's still a good storyline, but I think that it would have been an interesting twist that literally no one would have called if we would have done it this way, is that she's now stuck in Rysand's body and we kind of have a dual personality thing, and Tamlin, like, has to date Rysand, but, like, Farrah and Rysand. I think that would have been hilarious if we did that, but that's not what happened. She gets turned into immortal, and I really don't like that. I liked the premise that the mortal was with the immortal, and I liked that working with each other. I really didn't like that. It felt like to me when I was reading the book that the only way for her to really be with Tamlin is to become immortal. And like mortals still feel a little lowly. And I really wanted a mortal queen there to kind of like bridge the gap. Like this already, her sacrificing everything and her going through the trials is great and all, but if they had a mortal queen, I feel like it would have been that much better for the human race and them being able to blend. So I'm a little disappointed that she had turned into an immortal, but that's what we're left with, so that's where I docked it a little bit. Then they go home, and we're pretty much at the end of the book now, and we're dealing with all of the aftermath of her killing the fairies and her really dealing with that death. And I love how we are still dealing with the grief and how she has to deal with that. So I love that they're not just like brushing that off, like it was a justified kill. I love that she has that internal struggle. So, like I said before, I did rate this a 4.75 out of 5 stars. What did you guys think of the book? Did you think that the points that I brought up were pivotal moments, or did you guys find other ones to be more important? I would love to come talk to you guys down below. Leave me a comment and give this video a thumbs up if you like my review videos that I've been doing lately. And I will talk to you guys in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.